Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono meets Vice Chairman of Presidential Leadership Council or PLC of Yemen, Aidarus Al-Zubaidi, on sidelines of UAF Annual Meeting 2025. Industry Ministry reveals investment cost to build a proposed factory for Apple AirTag in Batam may only reach $200 million. A number of tourist villages in Indonesia receives awards in several categories at ASEAN Tourism Awards 2025. Hello and welcome to Focus Today on TVRI World. We are live from Jakarta to give you news from Indonesia and all around the world. My name is Siska Becker. Let's begin with our first report from the World Economic Forum in Davos. Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono had a bilateral meeting with Vice Chairman of Presidential Leadership Council, or PLC, of Yemen, Aidarus Al-Zubaidi, on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum, or WEF, Annual Meeting 2025 at Davos Klosters, Switzerland on Wednesday.
Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono and Vice Chairman of Yemen's Presidential Leadership Council, or PLC, Aidarus Al-Zubaidi, discussed the security situation in the Middle East region and the Red Sea. Aidarus highlighted the worsening humanitarian situation in Yemen due to ongoing war for the past decade during the meeting. He also outlined various initiatives with partner countries, as well as international and regional organizations in promoting peace in Yemen. He hoped Indonesia, as a big country, can strengthen its role in the Middle East region. In response to Aidarus, Indonesia's Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono expressed concern over the situation in Yemen and the Red Sea and underscored Indonesia's support for an inclusive peace process in Yemen. To conclude the meeting, Minister Sugiono asked for support from the government of Yemen in efforts to protect Indonesian citizens in Yemen. He emphasized the protection of Indonesians will remain a concern and priority of Indonesia's diplomacy, especially in the midst of the current situation in the Middle East.
Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono called for an inclusive national dialogue involving all stakeholders to achieve peace and a sustainable stability in Myanmar.
In his address at the Diplomacy Dialogue on Myanmar at the World Economic Forum, or WEF Annual Meeting 2025 at Davos Klosters, Switzerland, Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono urged all stakeholders in Myanmar to hold a national dialogue in order to bridge differences among conflicting groups. Foreign Affairs Minister Sugiono expressed concern over the ongoing internal conflict in Myanmar. The crisis, which has emerged since 2021, led to various other security threats, including the rise of transnational crimes and the increase in opium production in Myanmar. Furthermore, he also urged commitment among ministers in ASEAN to promote implementation of the 5-point consensus. In the meeting, Sugiono invited all partners to provide humanitarian aid for Myanmar through the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management. He also emphasized the issue of Rohingya refugees is key to resolving the crisis in Myanmar. The meeting of Diplomacy Dialogue on Myanmar at WEF Davos 2025 was a limited discussion focusing on international efforts to seek diplomatic and joint solutions to the crisis in Myanmar.
Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Armanata Nasir affirms Indonesia's support for African initiatives to counter terrorism.
In his statement at the open debate at the UN Security Council on counter-terrorism in Africa, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Armanata Nasir said, terrorism remains a global threat which impacts security and hinders development, including in Africa. He mentioned, as a country that has experienced terrorist attacks, Indonesia fully understands preventing and countering terrorism requires a comprehensive approach. Various measures which prioritize principles of national ownership and soft approach strategy in line with the UN Charter and international law must also be a priority. Armanata Nasir also emphasized high level of public awareness towards injustice and humanity nowadays can be one of the factors in driving development of terrorism in modern era. He said efforts to promote dialogue, tolerance, and the values of moderation are necessary in handling the root of terrorism in various levels. At the regional level, he emphasized the need to prioritize regional mechanism in counter-terrorism efforts. On a global level, the exchange of information and best practices among law enforcement officers remains a key to enhancing counter-terrorism efforts.
Under the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, Gaza faces a dire humanitarian crisis. Gaza-based health authorities report that the death toll from Israeli military operations has risen to 47,161, with over 111,166 injured.
Beyond the human toll, critical infrastructure has been devastated, including over 90% destruction of Gaza's main desalination plant, which served as a vital water source. Repairing this facility could take a year and cost an estimated $5 million. The United Nations Relief and Work Agency, or UNRWA, has warned that the scale of destruction from 15 months of conflict has overwhelmed its capacity to respond. Restoration of essential services such as water, electricity, and healthcare remains a priority, but widespread destruction of water wells, pipelines, power lines, and generators has left many residents without access to clean water or reliable energy. Additionally, thousands of unexploded shells scattered across the region pose a severe safety risk, complicating relief and recovery efforts further. Specialized teams are urgently needed to locate missing persons and address the growing challenges.
A 45-year-old Palestinian woman, Eman Jaradat, passed away after suffering a heart attack at an Israeli checkpoint between Hebron and Sa'ir town in the West Bank.
The Palestinian Authority's health ministry reported that her ambulance was delayed by Israeli soldiers at the Beit Einun checkpoint, obstructing her transfer from a clinic to a hospital. Relatives claimed that the delay caused by the checkpoint was fatal. The hospital doctor stating that her life could have been saved if she had arrived sooner. Israeli authorities have not yet commented on the incident. The checkpoint delays come amidst heightened restrictions imposed by Israel, coinciding with an Israeli military operation in Jenin on the same day, which resulted in the deaths of at least 9 Palestinians. Residents of the West Bank reported an increase in roadblocks, leading to extended travel times of several hours.
The new United Nations new Middle East envoy, Sigrid Kaag, visited Khan Yunis in Gaza for the first time since the ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas.
The truce took effect on Sunday after 15 months of conflict, with the handover of the first 3 hostages held by Hamas and the release of 90 Palestinians from Israeli jails.
Again today, my first visit since the ceasefire, and we see a lot of movement, we see a lot of activity. I visited a health point, newly established, where pregnant women, newborns and children up until the age of 5 get a very simple but important health check and referrals. I'm now at a UNICEF-run mental health facility, it's MHPSS, children to play, to be together, but also to allow psychologists or specialized caretakers to see which children have suffered even more than every other child and need specialized and dedicated attention. But of course the trauma is collective across the ages.
Video released the United Nations showed CAG walking between damaged buildings and touring a UNICEF-supported medical clinic and a psychological support center for children. The United Nations damage assessment released this month showed that clearing over 50 million tons of rubble left in the aftermath of Israel's bombardment could take 21 years and cost up to $1.2 billion. Gaza health authorities say at least 47,000 people have been killed in the conflict, with the rubble likely holding the remains of thousands more.
The crew of the Galaxy Leader, seized by Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis off the Yemeni Red Sea over a year ago, arrived safely in Muscat, Oman, and the United Nations acknowledged the release of the 25-member crew of the Galaxy Leader.
Oman TV reported their release in coordination with the 30-day-old ceasefire in the Gaza conflict between Israel and Hamas. The 25 crew members hail from Bulgaria, Ukraine, the Philippines, Mexico, and Romania. According to Galaxy Maritime, the vessel's owner, the car carrier was chartered by Japan's Nippon Yusen. Since November 2023, the Houthis have conducted over 100 Red Sea ship attacks, citing solidarity with Palestinians amid Israel's military actions in Gaza. Meanwhile, the United Nations acknowledged the release of the 25-member crew of the Galaxy Leader, marking a significant development after more than a year since the vessel was seized by Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis in the Red Sea. The crew, consisting of nationals from Bulgaria, Ukraine, the Philippines, Mexico, and Romania, was freed and transported to Hodeidah in northern Yemen. The Galaxy Leader, chartered by a Japanese company, was detained in November 2023 amid heightened tensions in the region.
Focus Today continues with news from around the world. Next one comes from India. At least 11 people died in a rail accident in India's western Maharashtra state when they disembarked from their train, fearing a fire, only to be hit by another train passing on the adjacent track, local media reported. Railway officials told local media that someone had pulled the train's emergency stop chain, causing it to come to a halt, after which several passengers deboarded onto the adjacent tracks and were mowed down by another passing train. The accident occurred about 400 kilometers away from India's financial capital, Mumbai. Indian Railway is the fourth largest train network in the world and is undergoing a $30 billion upgrade as part of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's push to boost connectivity. India plans to bump up spending on the modernization of its railways in the federal budget, to be presented next month. A rapidly spreading wildfire erupted on Wednesday, about 80 kilometers north of Los Angeles, scorching 5,054 acres in the Castaic Lake area of Los Angeles County, as the flames from the Hughes fire were captured by an eyewitness near Los Angeles Road.
The huge fire has prompted mandatory evacuation orders for approximately 19,000 residents, with another 16,000 under evacuation warnings. Authorities have described the situation as an immediate threat to life, as Southern California remains under red flag warning for extreme fire risk due to strong, dry winds. Firefighting efforts involve Los Angeles County, the state of California, and the U.S. Forest Service, with 1,000 firefighters deployed across the region. The Angeles National Forest has been fully closed to visitors, covering 700,000 acres in the San Gabriel Mountains to ensure public safety. And still from Los Angeles, flames from the huge fire were captured by an eyewitness near the Los Angeles Road, as the wildfire rapidly expanded, burning 5,054 acres in the Castaic Lake area, approximately 80 kilometers north of Los Angeles. Authorities issued mandatory evacuation orders for around 19,000 residents, warning of an immediate threat to life, while another 16,000 remain under evacuation warnings. Southern California continues to face extreme fire risks under a red flag warning caused by strong and dry winds.
United Nations agencies have expressed deep regret over the United States' decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, or WHO, and the Paris Agreement on climate change.
Tariq Jasarevic, spokesman for the World Health Organization, or WHO, stated that the United Nations agencies have expressed deep regret over the United States' decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization and the Paris Agreement on climate change. The announcements were part of a series of executive orders signed by the U.S. President earlier this week.
The World Health Organization regrets the announcement that the United States of America intends to withdraw from the organization.
The World Health Organization highlighted its long-standing partnership with the U.S., emphasizing its critical role in global health, including combating diseases and responding to emergencies in conflict zones. The UN expressed hope for constructive dialogue and reconsideration of these decisions, emphasizing the global impact on health and climate challenges that require cooperative solutions.
We hope the United States will reconsider, and we look forward to engaging in constructive dialogue to maintain the partnership between the United States of America and WHO for the benefit of the health and well-being of millions of people around the globe.
Meanwhile, the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, stressed the importance of the Paris Agreement as a vital framework to combat climate change.
We'll continue with more news from Indonesia right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Focus Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Focus Today on TVRI World with me, Siska Becker. Our next report comes from Jakarta, Indonesia. As of Thursday morning, Jakarta Disaster Mitigation Agency found 2 more bodies in the fire incident at Glodok Plaza in West Jakarta last week, adding casualties to 11. Meanwhile, West Jakarta Fire and Rescue Department deployed a team to anticipate sparks that may arise from the metal cutting taking place on the 8th floor of Glodok Plaza, Taman Sari.
Speaking to the press Wednesday afternoon, head of Jakarta Disaster Mitigation Agency, Johan, said the joint search and rescue team had found 2 more bodies of victims of the devastating fire incident at Glodok Plaza in West Jakarta, which occurred Thursday last week. The 2 bodies, Johan said, were found on the 8th floor of the building, which was one of Jakarta's oldest shopping malls. The 2 bodies added up to a total 11 casualties of the fire incident, with 3 others still missing. Previously, the agency received reports of 14 missing people in the massive fire engulfing Glodok Plaza, prompting a search and rescue action, including from the Jakarta Fire Department. And also, head of the operations section of the West Jakarta Fire and Rescue Department, Sharifuddin, stated the metal cutting with welding is risky because it can cause sparks that may lead to a fire. Therefore, he has a special team to ensure if a fire occurs, they can extinguish it immediately. The metal cutting is being carried out due to the large amount of fire debris on the 8th floor, which is complicating the process of searching for victims' bodies. The entire focus of the search is on the 8th floor, as the 9th floor has already collapsed.
The Commission of Jakarta Representatives Council has asked the Jakarta Provincial Administration to impose a strict sanction to the buildings in Jakarta, such as offices, shopping malls, or apartments that do not have the function feasibility certificates, particularly related to fire hazard protection.
Member of Commission A of Jakarta Representatives Council, Riano Ahmad, said Jakarta Provincial Administration should apply strict sanctions to all building owners that did not have function feasibility certificate or had expired certificate because it was a matter of public safety. He explained the certificate ensured the building had met safety standard such as fire prevention and control system as stipulated in Government Regulation No. 16, year 2021 on the implementation of Law No. 28/2002 on buildings. Data from Jakarta Firefighting and Rescue Agency stated 361 tall buildings in Jakarta did not meet the requirement or did not have the building fire safety certificate. According to Riano, the data showed many tall building owners or managers in Jakarta had neglected the safety of their employees and building visitors. One of the most recent fire cases with high fatalities is the fire on Glodok Plaza, whose function feasibility certificate had expired and was not renewed. Riano asked Jakarta Provincial Administration to hold a thorough inspection on all office buildings, shopping centers, and other buildings in Jakarta. He reminded there should be no compromise because the fire safety was the top requirement that all buildings should acquire.
The government said the issuance of building use rights and ownership certificates on sea area, where 30-kilometer-long bamboo fences were built in Tangerang Regency, was legally defected in procedure and material-wise. Here are more details.
Agrarian and Spatial Planning Minister and National Land Agency head Nusron Wahid said on Wednesday that the areas outside of coastlines could not be owned by personal or corporations. He added that the certificates issued on sea areas where the bamboo fences were built had been revoked. The Government Regulation No. 18, year 2021, stipulates that certificates with validity period below 5 years can be annulled without a trial process. The initial investigation results showed that as many as 263 building use rights certificates and 17 ownership certificates had been issued in the areas under the names of corporations and individuals. Meanwhile, a team of 1,500 personnel deployed to demolish the sea fence. The team consisted of Navy officers, Marines Frog Squad, Maritime and Fisheries Ministry staffs, and hundreds of local fishermen. The commander of 3rd Naval Base Jakarta, Brigadier General Hari Indarto, said that the number of personnel had tripled compared to the first demolition. The team targeted to disassemble 5 kilometers of the 30.16-kilometer long sea fences that span across 16 villages in 6 districts. On the first demolition, the team of 600 personnel tore down 2 kilometers of the sea fence. The construction of the sea fences violate regional border regulation and has negative impacts to coastal ecosystem and fishermen's activities.
President Director of Kereta Api Indonesia, Didik Hartantio, says passengers can start to purchase train tickets for the 8 holidays 45 days prior to departure dates.
Didik said on Wednesday that for this year's Eid homecoming season, Kereta Api Indonesia will increase seat capacity by 8% to 3.8 million compared to last year, to address a surge in number of passengers. Didik also said that during this year's homecoming season, the company will no longer operate direct train service. He said based on evaluation, such a service did not provide significant commercial benefits for the company. The direct train services were on trial during the recent Christmas and New Year holidays for the Jakarta-Semarang and Jakarta-Yogyakarta routes. As an alternative, Kereta Api Indonesia will optimize facilities and services, such as more comfortable waiting areas at the train stations. More seat capacity and better services will hopefully provide more convenient travel experience for passengers during the Eid al-Fitr homecoming season this year.
The Industry Ministry has revealed that the investment cost to build a proposed factory for Apple AirTag in Batam, Riau Islands may only reach $200 million, much less than the previously projected of $1 billion.
Industry Ministry spokesperson Febri Henry Antoni Arif said in Jakarta, the estimated investment cost for a proposed factory of Apple AirTag in Batam, Riau Island, must not reach $1 billion as previously projected. According to the ministry's assessment, the estimated real investment cost for the factory construction might only reach $200 million. The value was far below the previous projection stated in a proposal submitted by the US tech giant Apple to the ministry. Febri said, based on the ministry's technocratic assessment, projections of export value and raw material purchases, which are included in Apple's estimates, cannot be calculated as a capital expenditure for the factory investment. Febri added that Apple still had an investment in Indonesia between 2020 and 2023, which was not fully compliant yet with regulations. The tech company had admitted it still had an investment debt worth $10 million for the 2020 to 2023 period, which matured in June 2023. Febri said failure to comply with regulations might risk the company with sanctions, ranging from an obligation to add new investment capital to freezing and revocation of its local content certification.
Our national headlines continue now from the tourism sector. Tourism Minister Widianti Putri Wardana met several stakeholders to discuss various programs that can help boost tourism and other economic sectors in Indonesia and Southeast Asia during the 2025 ASEAN Tourism Forum, or ATF, in Johor Bahru, Malaysia.
During the 2025 ASEAN Tourism Forum, or ATF, in Johor Bahru, Malaysia, Tourism Minister Widianti Putri Wardana attended several meetings, such as the 12th ASEAN-India Tourism Minister Meeting, the 4th ASEAN-Russian Federation Tourism Minister Meeting, bilateral meeting with Agoda, bilateral meeting with Cambodia, and ASEAN Tourism Ministers Press Conference. In the 12th ASEAN-India Tourism Minister meeting, Widianti discussed with other participants on ways to strengthen the collaboration between ASEAN and India to support tourism recovery. She also appreciated the contribution of India's tourists as one of Indonesia's main tourism markets. In the 4th ASEAN-Russian Federation Tourism Ministers meeting, Widianti thanked the Russian Federation that had provided Russian language training and tour guide exchange from Bali to Russia. She expected these strategies could increase the human resource capacity in the tourism sector. In the meeting with Cambodian Tourism Minister Hot Hak, both countries discussed cooperation potentials in promoting cultural sites such as Borobudur, Prambanan, and Angkor Wat.
A number of tourist villages in Indonesia have received awards in several categories at the ASEAN Tourism Awards 2025.
Tourism Minister Widianti Putriwardana said in an official statement in Jakarta, villages across Indonesia have great potential in supporting the progress of the tourism sector, which not only prioritizes beauty, but is also inclusive and prioritizes long-term sustainability. The recent ASEAN Tourism Awards held in Johor Bahru, Malaysia, has awarded 15 tourism villages in Indonesia. The villages excel in several categories, including 5th ASEAN Homestay Award, 4th ASEAN Community-Based Tourism Award, and 3rd ASEAN Public Toilet Award. Among those winning the awards are the Nagari Sijunjung Village of West Sumatra, Kaki Langit Village in Yogyakarta, Osing Kamiren Village in East Java, and Sudaji Village in Bali. The others include Glodok Chinatown in Jakarta, Lihaga Beach Club Likupang in North Sulawesi, Iboi Village in Aceh, and Glamping Legok Kondang Ciwidey in West Java. Minister Putri said all of the awards are not only a recognition for the achievements of various tourist villages in Indonesia, but also a form of Indonesia's commitment to continue to contribute to the development of ASEAN tourism.
Deputy Industry Minister Faisal Riza suggests online marketplace players to prioritize selling local products on their platforms, as the ministry found that imported products were still dominating the market.
In his visit meeting with management of an Indonesian online marketplace in Jakarta, Deputy Industry Minister Faisal Riza said local-made products still had low visibility on many online shopping platforms, as they lost the competition with much cheaper imported ones. Faisal said the ministry advised online marketplaces to boost campaigns for local products, especially those produced by small and medium industries, in order to steal the attention of Indonesian consumers away from imported goods. One strategy was to put Made in Indonesia labels on every local product to help consumers identify goods when they searched online. In addition, Faisal said Indonesian e-commerce platforms should participate in training of small and medium businesses to create products with higher quality in order to win the competition. The Indonesian digital commerce industry was very lucrative as it recorded $90 billion in gross merchandise value or GMV in 2024. According to Economy Southeast Asia 2024 report, about $65 billion of the total GMV came from online marketplace.
Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati says that the fixed natural gas price subsidy program, which was implemented since 2020, has helped increase Indonesia's tax revenue.
Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati wrote on her Instagram account the fixed natural gas price regulation, which subsidizes certain industries with lower gas prices since 2020, has positively impacted Indonesia's tax revenue. The minister wrote that the policy contributed to an increase in tax revenue to 65 trillion rupiah in 2023, or about $4 billion from previously 37 trillion rupiah in 2020. The four biggest contributors were electricity, fertilizer, steel, and petrochemical industries. According to Sri Mulyani, the impact of gas price policy was comprehensive as it encompassed corporate, economic, and fiscal aspects. In economic aspect, she said the policy helped state-owned electricity company PLN in pushing for national energy security, while the subsidies to fertilizer producers might help the country's food security program.
Coordinating Minister for Politics and Security Affairs Budi Gunawan plans to add 2 new desks at his office to follow President Prabowo Subianto's directive for the government to immediately address issues in the spotlight.
The 2 desks will each focus on forest and land fires and human trafficking issues. Last November, the Coordinating Ministry for Politics and Security Affairs set up 7 desks as inter-office working units to accelerate the handling of 7 issues prioritized by President Prabowo Subianto's administration. The 7 desks are for the issues of regional election, smuggling prevention, drug eradication, online gambling, coordination for increasing state foreign exchange earnings, corruption prevention, and cyber security and data protection. Each of the 7 desks is led by a particular ministry or agency as the leading sector. For example, the Regional Election Desk, which handles 2024 regional elections, is led by Minister of Home Affairs Tito Karnavian, while the Drug Eradication Desk and the Online Gambling Handling Desk are led by Police Chief General Listio Sigit Prabowo. When announcing the 7 desks in November last year, Budi Gunawan said the work units have approximately 3 months to work. He said that all of the desks are still working until now.
Law Minister Supratman Andi Aktas supports law enforcement efforts ahead of the 100-day working period of the President Prabowo Subianto administration by drafting a new criminal procedure code, along with the House of Representatives.
Supratman's statement is related to a survey resulted of the public satisfaction level with 100 days of government performance in law enforcement, which reached 72.1%. Supratman said in Jakarta on Wednesday that the Ministry of Law will continue to support regulatory efforts. He also said that the Ministry of Law and the House of Representatives are currently drafting a new code of criminal procedure. Meanwhile, the House Commission 3 has proposed to discuss the bill on criminal procedure during the second term of the 2024 to 2025 session. The new procedure code will be able to take effect simultaneously with the enactment of the Criminal Code of January 1, 2026. Supratman said that the appreciations of law enforcement performance is not in the domain of his ministry, but in the police, military, prosecutor's office, Supreme Court, Constitutional Court, Anti-Corruption Commission, and the Audit Board as law enforcement officials. But on the other hand, the Ministry of Law will support the regulatory process and arrangement.
Deputy Minister of Home Affairs says about 270 regional heads elected in the 2024 simultaneous regional elections will be inaugurated by President Prabowo Subianto at the Presidential Palace in Jakarta on February 6, 2025.
Bima Arya explains that the regional heads inaugurated on February 6 are part of the first inaugurations of election results, with no dispute case at the Constitutional Court. Law number 10, year 2016, is the legal basis on the elections of governors, regions, and mayors. He says in the ceremony on February 6, Pramono Anung and Rano Karno will also be inaugurated as the governor and deputy governor of Jakarta.
Bima also says that there will be probably 3 ceremonies for the inaugurations of the elected regional heads. The inauguration schedule for the 2 groups of elected regional heads who are still in dispute will follow the rulings of the Constitutional Court or the results of re-election. Bima says the inauguration schedule agreed upon by the government and the House of Representatives has been reported by Interior Minister Tito Karnavian to President Prabowo during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday afternoon.
Coming up next is our reports from the world of entertainment and culture. That's coming up right after these short messages. Stay tuned to Focus Today. Thank you for staying with us right here on Focus Today on TVRI World. Our next report will discuss one of the biggest hits from South Korea. As new plot twist, one element of the Netflix mega hit series where contestants down on their luck risk their lives to play children's games for the chance of winning cash prizes has remained constant.
The reappearance of Young Hee, an innocent-looking robotic doll who in fact has a deadly role in the South Korean-made television series to find contestants to gun down, playing the game red light, green light if she spots them moving. Young Hee, who is clad in a simple orange dress with a hair clip, has become a viral meme on social media and the centerpiece of the streaming giant's promotional campaign. The first season of Squid Game became the most watched show on the streaming platform, and expectations were high for the second season to replicate the success. The new season of the dystopian survival thriller also broke a record as the most watched show in its premiere week on the streaming platform, with over 68 million views, according to Netflix.
This next news comes from the United States. U.S. tech giants Apple and Google have delayed a 75-day ban on TikTok, a Chinese-owned short video app, due to legal purgatory by President Trump.
TikTok still could not be downloaded from the Apple and Google app stores in the US on Wednesday, trapped in legal purgatory by the 2 tech giants. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Monday delaying the enforcement of a ban on the Chinese-owned popular short video app by 75 days, the legality of which is unclear. 4 days after ByteDance's TikTok went dark and then was quickly revived in the US, users who deleted the app were anxiously checking iPhone and Android devices to find it still unavailable to be downloaded again.
She's tried a few times today already. So it looks like... Oh. It frozen? I don't know. Welcome back. Thank you for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the U.S. You can continue to create, share, and discover all things you love on TikTok. For real? Does it look different? She's back! So this is the first thing I see. I'm thrilled. I cried last night, actually, while we were out when I realized it wasn't working. So this is like thrilling. I'm so happy. I mean, I was scared. I really was scared it was going to go. I kind of didn't believe people when they were saying it was going to be gone. So last night, not being able to open the app was triggering and upsetting and really scary. And I don't want to feel that way again. So I'm really happy that it's back.
TikTok welcomed users back on Sunday with the message, "Thanks for your patience and support." As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US.
Jeff Beck's famed 1954 Oxblood Gibson Les Paul guitar sold for £1,068,500 at an auction on Wednesday, way above its price estimate. The electric guitar, which Beck bought in 1972 and which was depicted on the cover of his 1975 instrumental album Blow by Blow, was the leading lot of Christie's Jeff Beck, the guitar collection sale, with an estimate of £350,000 to £500,000. It sold for a hammer price of £850,000, to which a buyer's premium is then added. The sale featured some 130 guitars, amps, and other equipment, which Beck played or used during his 60-year career, from when he joined the Yardbirds in 1965 up until his last tour in 2022. Often referred to as a guitarist's guitarist, the genre-bending Beck, who died in 2023, was hailed as one of the greats and twice inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rescuers cut through ice to rescue a trapped moose from a lake in New York on January 16th. Meanwhile, amid soaring temperatures surpassing 40 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, animals at Rio de Janeiro's By Park Zoo were treated with frozen delicacies to counter the heat wave.
Was a civilian there who saw it actually walking out on the lake and saw it go through. You know, myself, Officer Brassard, and Ranger Ahor there, we got behind it. We were able to direct it to the path, and it actually swam out pretty quick to shore. It was amazing. I mean, I was really surprised it was able to climb itself out of that onto the ice after being in the water for 2 hours. It was a big deal when that thing came out and popped itself onto the ice. And just to see it eventually get its footing and wander up.
Ferrari began testing at Fiorano with new Hamilton and Leclerc duo. Details are in our sports highlights. With Lewis Hamilton joining Charles Leclerc at Ferrari, the team releases footage of them testing the 2025 cars on a wet track at the Fiorano circuit. 7 times world champion Lewis Hamilton got his first taste of driving a Ferrari at the Fiorano circuit on Wednesday as he joined Charles Leclerc on the track. Hamilton got behind the wheel of an older car as he started testing and getting used to his new team ahead of the upcoming season. The Briton will partner with Leclerc at Ferrari, who are without a driver's title since 2007, taking the place of Spaniard Carlos Sainz, West-Joint Williams. Official testing starts in Bahrain on February 26 to 28, with the opening Grand Prix of 2025 in Australia from March 14th to 16th. Roki Sasaki plans to begin his Major League Baseball career in Los Angeles after signing a deal with the Dodgers, teaming with Japanese players Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
The hard-throwing 23-year-old international free agent agreed to a deal that included a $6.5 million signing bonus and will earn a rookie salary in his first season, The Athletic reported. Sasaki joins the World Series champion after spending the last 4 seasons with the Chiba Lotte Marines of the Nippon Professional Baseball League. The 6'2" pitcher, whose fastball can top 100 miles per hour, went 30-15 with a 2.02 ERA in 4 seasons with the Marines. He was part of the Japanese team that defeated the U.S. in the final of the World Baseball Classic in 2023 and said he was looking forward to playing with the reigning NL MVP Ohtani and Yamamoto, who he called exceptional players.
The Indiana Pacers trained in Paris on the eve of an overseas NBA match against the San Antonio Spurs. Following matches in 2020, 2023, and 2024, the U.S. Basketball League is holding 2 matches in Paris to the delights of fans.
The Pacers, who reached the Eastern Conference Finals a season ago, went through a pair of 3-game losing streaks and a 4-game skid before the calendar flipped to January as part of a rocky start to the 2024-25 campaign.
It's been great so far. It's such a different vibe out here, but I love it. Wish we have a little bit more time, but I've been shopping, moving around the city, walking around, just seeing all the different architects and just a lot of different things.
The Pacers and Spurs also will play each other in Paris on Saturday before returning to the United States.
We now have the weather forecast from the world's major cities. Let's take a look. Weather forecast wraps up today's edition of Focus Today. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'm Siska Becker. Goodbye.